Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. And I promise you, Kat will be here today. She's just running a few minutes late, but it will be 3 strong today. And you know what? I'm going to apologize for no show last week. It was mainly my fault, but it was out of my control. I literally had, I know a lot of you guys know this story already, but I had no internet for almost 3 days. And that was very frustrating. Oh, and Brant, I got to tell you, the internet, they were doing maintenance on it overnight again last night.
Oh,
So,
wow.
like,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
so it was out like late last night, all night last night until like 8 o'clock this morning. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Like,
Yeah.
what the heck, dude? And so I call the company and they
Yeah.
offer me, they're like, well, you were out for like, a few days and you can get like a $5 credit, right? Hey, Kat.
No.
So they're like, I'm like, $5 credit. I'm like, don't give me any favors for, you screwing up my internet for 3 days, whatever it was.
Right.
So it was like absolutely ridiculous. But there you have it. Kat is on. Brant is on. I am on. No excuses tonight. We're finally here. She had her trip to Japan. How was Japan?
It was so nice as my dog scratches something and makes noise. But no, it was really, really fun. I had a good I want to talk about Japan, Lenny. There we go. But no, it was I'll move her. Give me a second.
It's fine. While she moves Lenny. Yeah.
I got her now. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was 2 weeks and I actually saw a lot of Marvel comics there, but no DC comics, which was very interesting. There was like a pop-up for Venom. There was like, you go to a store and you get like Young Avengers in Japan and Japanese. So I thought that was cool. And then, the food was amazing. Everything was crazy, but I'm still like getting over jet lag. So yeah, I'm glad we're back. I missed you guys. So I'm glad I didn't miss too much, but I'm also glad the three of us could be on.
Yeah. I mean, we missed just as much as you since it just, God, so much shit happens, man.
I'm telling you. And like last week, everybody knows this too. I was so sick. I had no voice. I would not have been able to be on. Yeah, I literally could not talk. It was cracking so bad. And I'm still sick, but I'm better. I can talk at least. So it's just not letting go.
All right. So cool. So we definitely have a decent show today. There is some comic book news to talk about. A lot. Some of it, I guess, is from last week too, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what it was? Yeah. You're on mute.
So
I haven't looked today to see if there's anything new either. So if someone's like, "Oh my God, how did you not talk about Spider-Man being a spider?" I'm sorry, I didn't see it. But yeah, we're gonna talk about the news here, and then we have our top 5 comics of the year. I'm guessing we'll probably do that for the end. So I think we'll probably talk about this week's comics and then kind of go to the overall stuff. So wait until the end to talk about the main topic.
That's fine. I did have a clarification question real quick about that because we didn't really talk much about like any kind of rules or whatever. Are we including mini series or just like ongoing, or is it just
I think anything? I think
whatever you want.
Too. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I've got like backups just in case. But yeah, all right.
I did a list for my Substack, so I was gonna do top 10 anyway. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm doing this, so why not? Let's do it for the show too, because we don't, we always talk about this, but we used to do like an award show for the later half of the year. And as we talked about, our lives kind of get busy and things get in the way and it takes a long time to do. And we just said, you know what, let's always just do a show where we get to talk about, highlight the books that we love and, things that came out. Yeah. And then also we'll probably do a show for in the next couple of weeks where we'll talk about what we're anticipating for the next year. And I think something that'll be interesting. And I gave a note for this in my, and I wasn't here for Absolute Superman, but I gave a note for my Substack is like, I'm not including any Absolute stuff because like, even if I like Absolute Batman issue 1, I'm not going to include it because I liked issue 1.
Yeah, there's only one issue of that stuff out yet so far. So yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm doing like a end of the year thing type of thing, kind of like you're doing also, Kat. Like, so I have a lot of stuff. Like I've been in the process of working on it. So this was kind of like perfect timing to do this.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think it piles everything up very nicely. So yeah, let's get into the news and then we'll get into everything else. So you guys are on for Absolute Superman? I don't remember. I feel like we talked about Absolute Wonder Woman. And you guys had a show for Absolute Superman, or did you guys?
I'm pretty sure we talked about it, Mike, right?
Did we? Because I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah, we did.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone has a comment about
gamer,
it. So.
Yeah, the gamer in comics just says, I have to be honest, Mike. I disagree with you about Absolute Superman. I do not like it. I do not like it. And I totally understand. Right. Mm-hmm. Again, we're all gonna, have different opinions. No one says that you have to agree with me. I'm always going to, sit there and give my opinion. But if you don't like something or you like something, totally okay. I can understand why people would not like this, because some people are not interested in the Krypton story. Me, I like the Krypton story because I felt like we don't get enough of the Krypton stuff. Some people want more Superman. Some people might not like this version of Superman. So, I totally get it, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a good enough story. I still like Batman more and probably Wonder Woman, but I still think it had a lot of promise. I like the ending with Lois. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, with Superman?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Being in the military, yeah.
Another question we have is, has anyone seen Wicked or Gladiator 2? I've not seen Gladiator 2, but I did see Wicked. And
I saw Wicked on Sunday. Well,
what do you think?
Think about it. I got a wife at home, and then I got a daughter that dances. So it's I did see it. And as a person that doesn't actually see a lot of Broadway stuff and musicals and things like that, I thought it was really well done. I thought, I definitely want to see part 2. I think Ariana Grande is very talented. I've always said that. Even with the little poppy songs that she sings, I'm like, I feel like she wastes her talent because she is a phenomenal singer and she always has been. I've always seen glimpses on it when she's on the Tonight Show or Saturday Night Live. She's put out that voice, and I'm finally happy to see her in a movie where it can really showcase her talents, not only in singing, but in acting and in a Broadway, type of way as well. So
yeah,
I give her a lot of credit.
I actually didn't know if I was going to like Ariana or not, because I do think about her pop music and it's very high pitched. She's a great singer, but I was like, oh, that's I don't know if that's going to be a fit for Glinda. And then when we see her in the movie, you're like, wow, she's perfect for the role. And I have seen the play because of the comic I did, which is of Oz. I was doing research for it, and I know a lot of people ship them because of that play. So I was just like, oh, let's watch it. And Phil, my business partner, it's his favorite play. So he was he brought his whole family to see this movie. It was crazy. He very much was very excited to go see this movie. I was like, oh yeah, I think it's going to be solid. And I liked it. It's not my favorite movie of the year. If you love Wicked,
sure,
but it's in my top 10. I really had a good time with it. I think it is the best adaptation of a musical because it makes the musical a little longer with some of the lines they have, but doesn't change the musical. So if you've seen the music, it's the same story.
Right.
But they expand some scenes, so it's it fits for the movie medium, and it celebrated Wizard of Oz as a movie. So if you haven't seen Wicked, go see it. I have not heard great things about Gladiator 2, but I haven't heard horrible things. So
I haven't seen it, so I can't say anything about it. Yeah, I want to see it.
That's one I'll probably wait for, though. I don't need to see Gladiator in the theater. As far as Wicked goes,
Go on. I was going to say I didn't know there was a Wicked controversy, but I love the press tour because they're so funny. One of these clips that I love from Wicked is that there's this inner, you're really holding space within your role. Elphaba. It's oh my God, this is so great. Thank you. Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze a little bit. You heard a little bit of it
there.
But anyways, watch the clip. I'll show it in the thing, and it's all nonsense. What are they talking about, and why is she getting so emotional about this? I will send the clip in the comments because it's hysterical. But Brant, you have not seen Wicked, you said.
No, I have not, but we probably will go see it. I've never seen the play either, but I love that, and I really like Ariana Grande. Actually, I like her music, and I'm a Victorious fan, and so I know her acting and stuff from that too. So, and she's really good on like SNL and stuff like that when she does skits and stuff. So,
I'm jealous of you guys have not seen the musical because I knew the story. So you're like, oh, okay, I kind of know where this is going. So I'm sure it was nice to like actually find out what Wicked's about if you've never seen it.
Like I always knew kind of like what it was, but obviously never seen it,
Right, yeah. So
how's our Wicked talk? Honestly, that was a huge movie, so I think it deserved its conversation. But talking about media, actually, we don't have any media pieces because we didn't want to talk about that piece. We'll talk about comics. This is from last week, which is the Red Hulk ongoing series is coming. Of course, it's coming. There's the Captain America movie coming out soon. And I want to see who is writing it. Benjamin Percy and Jeff Shaw, who I think Jeff Shaw did stuff for the Batman and Robin book, I want to say. And then Benjamin Percy's been doing the stuff with Wolverine. I'll pick it up. I like Red Hulk as a character, but it's obviously tying into the movie.
Me too. I'll definitely. I mean, there's not much to say about it. Benjamin Percy, I like what he's done in this past like year when it comes to stuff, so I'll definitely give it a try for sure.
Yeah. So same.
All right, let's move on to Thunderbolts. Doomstrike miniseries is happening. So this is, again, movie coming out. This Doom thing is happening. They're like, why not patch this together? It's Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, who's done plenty of books. I'm trying to think of what they're doing now.
There's a couple books. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Are they doing an X-Men book? I want to say.
Oh, God, I can't remember.
Are they?
What the heck?
I know they're doing a couple things like both of you said. Yeah.
They're doing something I know I want to like more, but I don't.
Right. Yeah, I agree. There's something that they're doing that's not very good.
I just can't think of what it is.
Yeah. Because it's not very good.
But I did like what they did with the Captain America book that preceded like the Winter Soldier stuff with all of that. Then it kind of lost me. Is it NYX? That's what they're doing?
Yeah, Joseph said that.
I knew they were doing an X.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there you go.
I think they're doing something else too, but I can't think of what it is either. But they have a good feel for Captain America, etc. So I mean, it could be good, especially because it's tying into the Doom stuff. So I'll give it a shot. I like some of the characters in it, but we'll see what happens with it.
So next up, we have. Let's see. Zatanna is getting a mini series, and this is. Let me see who's writing it. Let's see. So the person writing the Zatanna book is, I think Jamel Campbell is actually doing the art and the writing, which I think is interesting because we all liked the Mariko Tamaki book. Like we very much enjoyed that. So to see Zatanna again, but in a different presentation, it's just like, oh, I kind of wish you just continued the book we all already liked.
Yeah.
But exactly. I also really love this artist. So I'm just like, oh, I do want to see the art and his story, but it's hard because like I really genuinely don't know how you could get better than what we already had.
You never know.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm just excited either way.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, we haven't got a lot of Zatanna, so being that there's another one, and that's kind of cool.
I agree. Yes. Oh well, I won't highlight the comment, but yes, he did do Naomi, and I think that was one of his better projects. So, and I think he did some Green Lantern stuff too. Any other thoughts, Brant, on that, or we move on to the next one?
No, we can move on. Yeah, pretty much covered
that. We have Predator vs. Spider-Man. We've been getting a lot of these Predator books, so now it's Spider-Man's turn.
I mean, the only thing I wanted to say is like, since it's Spider-Man, obviously I'm going to pick that one up. And I know someone was mentioning about this one, like, I don't know if it was in my Facebook group or in one of my comments or whatever, was saying that it would be cool if Kraven the Hunter makes an appearance in that book because he's a hunter as well and actually working with Spider-Man in the title to capture the Predator. Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. Let's see what else we have going on here. We have, speaking of Spider-Man's teaming up with the X-Men because why not? I guess. I mean,
well, it's kind of like, well, that's never happened before. So, like, why does that make news, right? When you think about it, it's like, well, that definitely has happened. I mean,
I see now. It's tying in with the 8 deaths of Spider-Man. Okay.
Well, I do want to talk about that because we weren't on last week, and we did have that topic of is it worth picking up Spider-Man again? And man, oh man, I don't know how you guys felt, but I thought it was the same regurgitated stuff we've been getting from the last volume. And I'm just like, oh, just like a different makeup. Like it's literally the same artist, which I do like the art, even though I actually thought this art was less strong than what we've gotten from Patrick Gleason in the past. But
it wasn't Patrick Gleason, it's Ed McGuinness.
No, it was Ed McGuinness.
Ed McGuinness. I'm sorry, Ed McGuinness. And Ed McGuinness did do some of the previous run, right?
He did
early on.
Liked
I think he did a couple issues, yeah.
I thought that the first few pages of it were very like, yeah, we got to do the Parker luck and being responsible and making him feel like crap shit. That part of it, like I didn't really like. But then when it got to the part with like Dr. Doom and giving him that power, that responsibility to, to protect Earth and from these 8 things or these creatures or whatever it is. And then he actually dies. And then like, I actually like that. I thought it was cool from that point on.
I thought felt like, go ahead.
Go ahead first. I was just going to say,
no, you go.
One of us go. I was just going to say, so part of it felt like classic Spider-Man stuff, kind of, putting through something, fighting all these villains. It just felt very classic and old school. Yeah. In parts of it. But the part that really got me, like you mentioned, Mike, was the death scene where he was coming back to life and all the pain and the anguish. Yeah. You could feel it. Yeah. That's the part that really sold me on it. And at the same time, I'm like, well, it's just going to be him battling one more of these each issue. So it's going to feel a little formulaic. So I'm hoping that they find a way to mix it up and make it, a little bit more unique. Every issue.
I agree. But I still think it's going to be better than what we're getting here. Like it just, you can tell just like the type of story that Joe Kelly was writing there. Like there's some thought behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like when he was explaining all the, Doctor Strange stuff and the Sidorak stuff and all that other things and what he's been going through. And I thought the artwork was strong. I personally thought the artwork was strong and I like the colors. It's very bold. And I don't know. It's just better than what we beginning. I'm not saying it was the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. I'm just saying that it was better than what we've been getting here.
Right.
I just don't love the Doctor Strange stuff. I know you guys literally when it was out, you enjoyed the death of Doctor Strange more than I did. And I do worry about what Brand said. It's going to be formulaic, but you won't be able to tell until you read it. And I do hope I enjoy more of it. I think the reason why I felt like it was so connected to that previous run was because really that Doctor Strange part only really happens in that last 5 pages. And the rest of it is the regurgitation of, oh, he has this girlfriend that we're supposed to like, even though who gives a shit? Like she's just some random girl, like, oh, Aunt May and whatever. Like it's just like, it's all the same thing without any emotion behind it, which is why I feel like that final scene for me just didn't do it, because it's just like, okay, this whole issue didn't build up to this moment. It almost feels tacked on, and I just we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, as going back to the X-Men team up, it's interesting because Juggernaut's armor, his power comes from this same demon, the Sidorak. So he's joining in the fight. So that's kind of interesting. At least it makes sense for them to team up.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, moving on to more crossovers. We have the Deadpool crossover, which actually makes a lot of sense. So it's going to be Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and Deadpool. And guess what? The writer writes both titles. So I love crossovers like this because you can really plan them really well. Honestly, I'll probably read it, and I don't read Miles. Maybe they'll get me into Miles. So I think that's cool. I love that idea.
Right now, I feel like Miles is very much on that pace of we need to get to that point. I feel like it's at a stall because right now it's like Miles is still like a vampire and he's working with Black Panther and he's wearing this vibranium suit and he had to fight Vulture. And this is not the first time he's fought Vulture in this series. And so I feel like, you talk about regurgitated stuff, Kat, like Ziegler right now is very repetitive on Miles Morales, and I think he's just waiting to get to this part in the Deadpool series to cross these books over.
Yeah, it feels like a holding pattern almost.
Yeah,
it's like let's wrap up all these little loose ends so we can just kind of coast into this, and now we'll ramp it up.
And he writes at the same time better right now than Miles.
I agree. I still think Miles is solid, but I think once it gets to that point, it's going to be a little bit more interesting story than just the same old, hey, I'm a vampire. Let me, deal with my, powers waning and my the anxiety issues he's dealing with. We keep going back to that kind of stuff in the past few issues. So, but I'm like you said, Kat, I'm really excited about a single writer that writes both of these titles handling this crossover. When that is done, it just feels more fluid. It feels better. It reads better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. We got some X-Men news too. So Weapon X-Men with Deadpool, Wolverine, and Cable. And the writer is Joe Casey, and Chris Cross, I guess, is the artist. I mean, this is a cool team. It's the ones you would expect to team up. So why not? Again, I won't say I've seen it
with like Wolverine in it.
That's exactly all it is. It's X-Force. Just why not just call it X-Force? That's my feedback on this whole article. It's like,
exactly. I mean, it sounds cool, and I'll pick it up. It's got some cool characters in it.
Same. We will see how it turns out when it comes out. Next is more Marvel news. Timeslide is an event coming up, and it's going to be Cable driven and Bishop driven. And they're teasing like, oh, look at the timeline and how things are going to change. Whoa.
It's timeless. That's what it is.
Yeah, it is timeless.
Yeah, it's a continuation of it.
Yeah.
It's been going on for like 5 years, right? There's been so many years that this thing has been not doing anything.
It's everything that's coming out, a teaser of what's coming out in 2025. That's basically what it is.
Right. But I like structuring it around 2 time traveling characters. That's at least a little more fun. So
same.
But yeah, that's all it is.
All right, moving on to Hot Rod and Void Rivals. Take the lead on this one. I don't know who Hot Rod is, but
Come on, man. Hot Rod, you got to do your research if you're going to talk about the news.
I know what a Hot Rod is, but I don't know who Hot Rod is.
In the cartoons, when Optimus Prime died, Hot Rod took over the Matrix and became the leader of the Transformers. That's who Hot Rod is, and everybody hated him. Yeah, because he was a hothead. Yeah, so but. I don't know. It's exciting for me. I like Hot Rod. I've always liked Hot Rod. So to see him coming up in Void Rivals issue 15, I'm excited for it. I want to see what his role is going to be and where he goes from there.
I think it's Kirkman's favorite Autobot too. That's why he's being put in the book.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's always cool to see new Transformers in that book, so I'm excited.
Hot Rod was always cool when he was a car, but when they transformed him into a truck, it just looked weird. So
when he was Rodimus Prime,
yeah, exactly.
A lot of people said he killed Prime. Maybe that happened. Don't know.
Don't think that's how it went. That's not how I remember it, but sure.
If he is no replacement, for Optimus Prime.
No, it doesn't sound like I at least know who Optimus Prime is, so it doesn't sound like he was a big replacement.
And either was Ultra Magnus. That dude got no respect though either, too.
Yeah.
We got a comment from DMG. Been enjoying Plastic Man, Ministry of Compliance, and Holy Roller. Holy Roller I haven't heard of in a long time. I never heard of Ministry of Compliance. I don't know who releases that, but that's cool.
I think is it IDW? Maybe? It's IDW or Dark Horse, or it's from one of those. I can't remember.
And we all like Plastic Man.
Yeah.
Plastic Man's been great. All right, let's move on to the Free Comic Book Day books revealed by Marvel. We got a Fantastic Four book that also has X-Men attached. We have Amazing Spider-Man, of course. That's also Universes attached to that one. And then we have Star Wars, some kid books, and those are all it. I thought the more interesting news for this one is having the Fantastic Four front and center. Because obviously Marvel's been trying to do that, but also it's been the same creative team for a while. And I know we didn't like the beginning of that. I don't know if it got better or whatever, but it's like, it's so interesting. It's been the same creative team for so long. I don't know how, like anytime we're in the comments, like obviously we don't read every book, but like a lot of times you guys will tell us like, oh wow, Fantastic Four is great. I just don't haven't heard anyone talk about Fantastic
I haven't
Four,
read Fantastic Four. I just heard that like Johnny Storm was hooking up with some worm like a few issues back. Yeah, like that's what it was. Like he had sex with like some weird worm. Like I don't know, man. I just
all right.
That's the that I hear.
Yeah, so, I haven't read it in a while. Yeah,
it's weird, but I you know, obviously I think they're going to bring up Fantastic Four a little bit more often because we're going to get the movie from that.
Right.
You know, and then you're going to get the Spider-Man book and you have the Maker on there. I think it's going to be two separate stories.
Oh yeah, like no, they usually do that.
There is no way you're going to cross over those two universes, you know, and pull off like a Superman thing. You know how like Superman was like there was two Supermen, and then that's how like John came around and everything else.
Right.
And so I don't know if they would do that where it's like you get Ultimate Universe that becomes the main Spider-Man, but I don't know.
I think it's just, you know, it's basically their Spider-Man book. They're going to put both of them in there.
Yeah.
I do like that they're, you know, hitting different audiences and different fan bases and different age groups with the, you know, with the Amazing Friends and all that stuff. So at least they're keeping a variety there. But yeah.
All right. We have next some DC news. So Jeremy Adams is writing a Green Lantern Corps series, which I think is going to be a separate series other than Green Lantern. So we'll still get the Green Lantern flagship, and then we'll get Green Lantern Corps. Love Jeremy Adams. I'm excited for this book. I think this is the perfect next step for the Green Lanterns, and it's cool that the same writer will be writing both books. We haven't had that since, honestly, Jeff Johns.
It's been a long time. I mean, it makes sense too. You have all the lanterns now in the Green Lantern book, so now I think it makes sense to have them in their own book and then focus more on Hal Jordan in his own book going forward after whatever's going on right now in this series.
And honestly, that's been taking me away a little bit from this arc where I'm like really excited to see Hal's like personal life and see him as a hero. And I think because this arc is setting up the Green Lantern Corps, I'm like, yeah, it's nice to see everybody else. But I also like think there's so many lanterns. It's hard to balance them all, honestly.
Yeah, and I agree. So it's good that they'll have this book to kind of focus on the other Earth Lanterns. It looks like, at least at the beginning, it's going to be a lot of all the Earth ones: John Stewart, Kyle Rayner, Jessica, etc. So,
yeah. Last but not least is the popularity of these Absolute titles. So Absolute Batman is already the best-selling book of 2024. So, you know, it's only been a few weeks, and obviously they still have to do like all those second and third. I think second printing probably already came out, but like third printing and all that.
It did. They're like getting ready to do a fourth printing already.
Oh, already fourth. Wow. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a great series, and it really shows. And what I've been really liking about All In and Absolute is put creators first, let them do what they want. And because Scott Snyder's been spearheading this, you could see things are connected. I like that. You know, I'm sure we'll talk about other books that have done that. Like it shows like, oh, cool. Like everyone's part of the Justice League. Absolute power happened, and there's consequences because of it. And then the Absolute stuff feel like something really new and different. So someone asked if it also Ultimate Spider-Man. It sounds like it, which is very interesting. I think, I don't know why. I mean, obviously, maybe it's because of the Scott Snyder of it all. I don't know. I don't want to play the game.
Batman. I just think Batman is like
outsells Spider-Man.
Outsells Spider-Man, and then when you get a jacked up Batman on a cover, it's a little bit different, right? I mean, it seems more edgier. I think it just attracts a lot of people, and yeah, I think since Scott Snyder is that big name, and he wrote the New 52 Batman, which most people liked. I think, you know, that adds to it as well.
Yeah.
Most people like it. I also think most people read after it was out. Like, I think a lot of people read Court of Owls.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't Wednesday Warriors. Like, I think people went to the library or like had a friend who's like read Court of Owls. And I think that probably is why Scott Snyder has a little bit more pull, is just because he kind of lives on the graphic novel shelves, maybe more than maybe a Jonathan Hickman or an Ultimate Spider-Man. And honestly, that's the fault of Marvel for not releasing their graphic novels as well as DC does. But yeah, let's get into, is there another piece? I think that was it, actually. So we're going to talk about the comics real quick. I'm going to talk about my Kickstarter. So we were talking about the Wizard of Oz / Wicked earlier. So if you guys like that, go check out Witches of Oz, which is our comic book where you get to see Glinda and the Wicked Witch finally get together. We have about a week left. It's doing really well. We're happy with it. So everything's very funded, way past funding. And we have cool covers. And if you want to know the origin story of Glinda, this is the book to read. So go check that one out. I will have a link in the description. But we are going to go into our comics of the week, and then we'll do our main title.
Okay. Here we go, guys. So let me switch it over. I totally forgot to switch that over. Talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Naruto, issue 1. So I honestly only bought this to talk about it on my show, Worthy Ones. I don't know anything about Naruto. I never watched it on TV or anything like that.
All I know is that they're ninjas and they have whiskers.
Well, I read the book and I thought the book was okay. I thought it was solid. There was good action in there. I thought it was better than the Masters of the Universe and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? And so, will I be picking it up going forward? No, it's just not personally my thing. But I did think it was a well done comic book, and I think fans of these franchises will enjoy it.
Yeah, I've never seen Naruto either. My brother watched it, and I know he liked it. I think the characters always looked cool, but I never knew anything about them. But this issue heavily focused on the Naruto characters, and the Turtles were like guest stars. So that's, if you're not a Naruto fan, this one might not be quite up your alley. I'm hoping it balances as it goes forward for people that are fans of both. But I did think it was well done. The art was really nice throughout it. So it was a little bit of a different take on the Turtles, I thought. And interesting connection with one of the Naruto characters knowing Master Splinter. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So all in all, it was good.
Right. I got a question here from Parker Luck, and he says, Mike, have you started the Marvel DC Comics crossover from the mid-'70s with the Spider-Man, Superman crossovers and X-Men, Teen Titan crossovers? Did you like it? I wound up getting that DC Marvel omnibus that was released, so I got it last week. And no, I have not read it yet. It's going to be like a slow read for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I read so many books every week.
And tomorrow, oh my God, the amount of books that are coming out.
26, 27 books.
I had 20. I had 20 books. I was reading Rogue Sun, and I had to drop that because I was just like, I cannot read 20 books tomorrow. I'm reading 19 now. And it's like, oh my God, it's so many books tomorrow.
Jesus. On a holiday.
I'm like canceling my day tomorrow. All I'm doing is reading.
Crazy. But I will read like an issue here, issue there, and I'll probably talk about it on my channel on what I think of it. Because that I felt like I had to buy that omnibus because you don't see those stories every single day, and I will love to read those books. So the first world problems is true, right?
Too many great books to read.
Yep. All right, let's talk about Wonder Woman issue 15. So obviously I didn't read this. I just feel like I'm done with Tom King and Wonder Woman with the hot and cold issues. And I did hear though that there was something that went on in this particular comic book that maybe like characters weren't like in character, or they went to the extremes. It just like,
I don't know, extremes. I actually thought it was very, very boring. The whole issue is like the Wonder Woman's, like the Wonder Girls having like this poetry session, and it all has to like connect to Wonder Woman's child, the new child. And I forget what happened in the end. In the end, I really don't remember what the conclusion was.
It was basically all the Yara and Cassie, etc.
Yeah.
Were all these princesses that Wonder Woman was reading to her daughter. 4 princes jumping on the bed, one fell off. So every time they would accomplish their mission,
it's 5 monkeys jumping on the bed.
Right. So every time they would finish their mission, they'd be like, Princess 4 has fallen off the bed or whatever, bumped her head or whatever it was. So it was that kind of thing but it was like just like the systematic takedown of all the cash that the Sovereign owned. That was the whole story. They were just like hitting all the cash reserves.
I thought it was so fillerish. I did not like the poeticness of it. This was my least favorite issue of Wonder Woman. I did not like it.
No,
I don't know if you felt the same, Brent. No.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It took a step down. It was more of the kind of stuff that we saw in Batman with this one.
So. Right. Gotcha. Good. I'm happy.
All right, miss much on this one. I will say the issue before this was really, really good with Steve and like figuring out.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about on that. Yeah.
That was great.
So let's talk about a good comic, Ultimate Spider-Man issue 11. So this book was, I thought this book was really good. God, it was like the first book I read too.
So it's Mary. The beginning there's mostly a fight. Mary Jane and Peter have that conversation about, you're in danger.
Yeah, because he gets in that fight with the. Yeah, because
who was he fighting? That's what's bugging
Mr. Negative.
Mr. That's what it was. He was fighting Mr. Negative.
I will say the beginning was a little slow because of the fact it's like it was just a fight.
It wasn't the fight that bothered me. It was just like I'm not a fan of Mr. Negative. I never have been a fan of Mr. Negative, and but the thing is, what I did like about that fight is I liked seeing the wittiness of Peter in this issue. He was kind of funny, I like that. And she was like, there was the woman in the bank, and she's like, "You're gonna get us all killed," and so that I thought that was kind of funny. Yes, the talk with Mary Jane, I thought was kind of cool. I liked it. It was about time that she actually at least I guess talk to Peter about the situation of being Spider-Man and trying to say, hey, if this gets too serious, will you tell me to run, type of thing. And so I'm glad that they did have that type of conversation. And I really like the conversation.
We're going to say, go on. We'll talk about Mary Jane and Peter and then we'll talk about the next conversation. The Mary Jane and Peter thing, I felt like I like it, but I do feel like they have to tiptoe because it's so much the Amazing Spider-Man effect. Like they're not together and they always have horrible conversations. It's almost with this one. It's just like, I like that they brought it up, but it's almost like, oh yeah, you're in danger, but I guess it's okay. But I guess we should mention it. But okay, it's fine. And I just feel like I want a little bit more drama and tension for that. And I hate that they kind of have to handhold in that regard. They have to be a perfect couple.
I kind of like took it as like almost like a nervous energy from her. Like, she is aware, but she doesn't, I don't know. I feel like she doesn't want to give her all the truth, like express all her feelings to him. I think she's kind of just like, I hold it back a little bit type of thing, and it's starting to get to her a little bit. I just felt like she's kind of holding it back. And then that's why she kind of like shoved it off to the side. And she's like, hey, you want to fool around? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying there?
Yeah, and I agree with you. And knowing Hickman, I mean, he's a slow burn kind of writer. So I think he's building up that tension, and eventually maybe it'll get to a boiling point where there has to be a deeper conversation about it. But this was just kind of like a touching base. Yeah, I hope too.
Because the ending, I really liked the conversation between him and that's what made the issue for me. I liked the conversation between him and Uncle Ben because it did feel like there were stakes. It did, like, obviously he found out he was Spider-Man. He said, I know.
Yeah.
Jonah's probably gonna find out at some point too, and you just gotta figure out, like, are you living the life you want to? And I love that question where it's just like, are you happy? You
like,
die tomorrow, and he's like, nah. And I really like that conversation because like you never get the chance for him to talk to Uncle Ben. It's such an Uncle Ben conversation, and there's red herrings. You're like, well, is he gonna die because he's Uncle Ben? So like I thought the end of the issue in an interesting place.
Yeah, definitely keeps you guessing for sure.
Yeah, I really like that, unlike Aunt May, Uncle Ben figured it out right away, and Aunt May probably knew, but, kept it to herself and just kind of like ignored it and tried to put it off, but Uncle Ben's like, nah, I got to address this.
Yeah.
It shows the differences.
That conversation was good, like really good too, because of like the situation, of what he said. He's like, how many people did you tell? And he's like, I think like 7th. And he's like, you need to be careful about doing that. Like you're putting everybody at danger, and it's wild. Especially
the connection to the newspaper. Cause like he's a journalist. So
right. So there it's like, you have a real conversation, right? In between him and Peter. And then with Mary Jane's conversation, I really do feel like it was the point where she is concerned, but she doesn't want to show him 100% that she's that worried. You know what I'm saying? I think she's holding it back a little bit. So somewhere down the line, something is going to happen where I think she's going to get like scared shitless. Like something is going to happen.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. So with that being said, let's get to number 5. So Brant, what was your number 5?
My number 5 was The Moon is Following Us, number 3. I didn't like this issue as much as the previous couple, but I like that it opened up more mystery for us here because they finally reach her and she's taken right back away from them. And then you have, was it her mother or his?
Yeah,
no, somebody's mother.
Her mother.
Yeah, her mother is in this too, and it's like, what? How did this? What is real? What is fantasy? How are these people? I don't know. It just opened up a bunch more questions, which I like. I like, especially this early on, that we're introducing more questions and getting more confusion and stuff, and kind of leading you down different rabbit holes and that kind of thing. And the tension is building between her and her husband more and more as this goes on because they deal with things completely oppositely.
Yeah, he's a non-emotional type of guy, and she's like very goes into it with all rage, and she's like, why don't you show emotion? Why don't you care? And he's like, it's not that I don't care. He's just like, I just handle things differently. And I liked again another conversation between a husband and a wife on what they went through, and I thought that was kind of cool.
And I like the cliffhanger. That's probably the thing that, like, because I agree with Brant. I feel like, I don't know if this is the strongest issue. I like the last issue more. I do like Do a Powerbomb a lot more than this book. This is just not like my type of book. But every issue there's something that kind of grabs you. Like this one, well, now I kind of want to know what happens with the mom because like I want to see where that plays out. So and I'm pretty sure this is probably a maxi series. I'm guessing there's like 8 issues or something. It's not like if you don't like Feral, right? You're gonna be reading that forever. So that book is continuous. So it's easier with these finite ending type books.
Yeah. We got a question here. It says, I still have to read the issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, but I'm still mad at Marvel for keeping the marriage out of the main book. It's very boring. What about that? I feel like giving up on Amazing. So listen, I feel like when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man, don't expect ever for Mary Jane and Peter Parker to ever get married again.
Or even be together, honestly.
Unless you get a completely different person in charge, a new editor, a new, person in charge that says, you know what, we can do it. As of right now, under that regime, I don't think it's going to happen. And you just got to accept it. And you just hope for good Spider-Man stories in general. All I care about, honestly, is they need to find a way to get the character to grow again because he's been stuck in this rut forever, right? There's no growth in Spider-Man, in Peter Parker. And until they do that, people are going to be frustrated reading the story. It's not necessarily Mary Jane for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Because we also have Ultimate Spider-Man. I love Mary Jane as character. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see that in Amazing Spider-Man, but I agree. It's just give me a good Peter Parker story. And even like go back to the girlfriend that's out now. It's just like, okay, she's just there, she's just there because you want him in a relationship with somebody. It's like, if you're going to have a secondary character, give something, give some emotion. And obviously maybe they'll build that as the series goes on. But just give a good story. I don't know what else to say besides that because it almost feels impossible, but just give a solid story.
Mm-hmm. So what do you got, Kat, for your number 5?
Mine was You Never Heard of Me. It's from Dark Horse. The creative team I've worked with before. Yeah, this is you're looking for a teen story, coming of age. I really like this one. It's about this family who kind of has this power to see the past, I want to say, and the future. I didn't catch on that one, but I think it's like the past and the future.
It was the best moment in their life and the worst moment
in their life. And the worst moment. Yeah. And so the grandma dies, or it's a grandma, right?
Yeah. His grandma.
So the grandma dies. The main character gets this power, kind of has to keep it from everybody, even his family. And you just get to see the interpersonal relationships with his family, with people at school, and him taking this responsibility. It's honestly a story you've kind of seen a billion times, but because we haven't seen it in a long time, it almost feels nostalgic. I think they set up the characters really well. The artwork is really good for this book. So if you're looking for like a teen story with powers, I think this is a really solid one.
Yeah, I really like this one. This it grabbed me right away just from like the concept and the cover art and stuff. And when I actually read it, I really enjoyed it as well. And I don't know, there's just something about it. Like you said, it's not necessarily new, but the way that it was handled, and I think there was a lot of character work here because the kid, he's really smart, but he doesn't apply himself because he's getting a lot of pressure at home, and he's dealing with his mom being gone and all this stuff and all this heaviness
right, his
of
mom left.
his family responsibility. Yeah, so and there's like tension between him and his dad. So there's like all these layers to these characters, and then on top of it, you've got this other thing. So it's very much a character story with like these abilities on top of it. So it's a really good read. It was my number 6. So
cool, awesome. All right, and my number 5 was Batman and Robin Year 1, Issue 2.
I actually didn't read this one.
Yeah, it was actually good. I actually think I like this one a little bit better than the first one. And, you get to see, again, a continuation of, Batman and Dick working together. You wind up getting to see, like, I think it was like Children's Services or something coming to the mansion and making sure, like, Bruce is taking care of Dick, and, he's not doing it for, to gain popularity or whatever it is. And you get to see, like, the banter between Bruce and Dick also, like they're not getting along right. And, I loved seeing that. And Sam Neill's artwork is so good in this book. Like it makes you feel like you're in that, almost like that Silver Age style, the way he draws the facial expressions and everything else. And you get to see kind of like that bat cave where Dick is like, oh, how many bat caves do you have? And he's like, 1. And it's just like, you just see the whole underground of everything. And so there's a lot of cool elements to this story. And then they had to go out on the mission. And again, Dick does something that kind of puts a smile on Bruce's face. So overall, it was a fun issue, really good. Again, like this one better than the first one.
I think I like the first one better, but I did enjoy it. And I like, the relationship between them where Dick is just continuously, pushing boundaries and doing his own thing. And there was that little dig where he was like, Bruce was like trying to convince the social worker that, he's in no danger here. And they walk in the room and he's like hanging from the chandeliers and he's like, you can't take the circus out of the kid. Sorry. And that kind of thing. So it was just like, there was some goofy moments in it, but at the same time, it was, Alfred kind of telling Bruce, hey, he's got his own way to do things. You got to kind of, let him be and that kind of thing. So it was a solid issue. I enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun so far, this series.
Cool. Glad you liked it too.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to question all along the Watchtower, issue 1. I thought this was a pretty decent book. I mean, it was cool to see them actually try to recruit Renee Montoya and her being in charge or the deputy of the Watchtower. So that was kind of cool, and her struggles and kind of like her relationships, and then you wind up getting to see obviously the threat that attacks this Watchtower. Where does it go from here? That I'm not like sold on yet, but it definitely does, warrant a second issue for me.
I think it's going to be about the relationships. I think they really put a point for Kate to kind of be involved. So I do think we're going to get a lot of that, which makes sense because when you think of Renee, you think about Kate as a character. But yeah, I thought it was really solid because of what I kind of was alluding to earlier, that you need a book that connects to your events. And this does a really good job of that. If you read Absolute Power, it feels worthwhile. You're like, okay, she's part of the Watchtower. Absolute Power happened. Like there's conversations about it. And Renee's in character. Alex Segura is really good at telling mystery stories. It's kind of his thing. So, I think he does a good job with that. I thought it was really solid. I liked it.
Did you all pick up on all the Watchmen comparisons? Like the original Watchmen was supposed to be Blue Beetle, and The Question and etc.
I didn't pick up all that stuff. That's interesting.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. So she's basically Rorschach, because at the end, the villain we see, I'm thinking, is Ozymandias from The Watchmen. We see the big cat.
So, okay.
Purple boots. I mean, it's just kind of where it seemed to be going. It could be, misleading. It could be a red herring and everything, but it felt very connected to that. And
Gotcha.
Like all along the Watchtower, who watches the Watchtower? It was a thing in the Watchmen, who watches the Watchmen.
Sure.
A lot of parallels there. So I thought that was really interesting, on top of all the other things that you all mentioned. So I really enjoyed this book, and I'm curious to see where this goes now. It was like a sleeper kind of book for me. So I was like, okay, I got to pay attention to this now. So.
Right.
I honestly hope more people pick it up, because again, people always complain.
Will you be like disappointed? It is none of that shit happens, right?
No, because I like the reference. I like the kind of nod to it. If it's not that, I like the nod to it. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, like, there's so much more meat to it. Again, just mentioning Kate, like, you could have a whole series of just them teaming up. So I think that's fine. But like I was gonna say, I think it's interesting that so many people complain that there's not enough characters that are like C-list characters that have stories, or stories that matter. And honestly, like, this kind of feels like all that. It's a story that's self-contained. It's like, I think for anyone who's complained about not liking the big two, they should read this, honestly.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to have these characters in there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to this. I know this is Kat's number one book. Exceptional X-Men issue 3. Kat,
I don't have to keep any secrets.
I love you. I love you like a sister. We've known each other a long time, but this is not my number one book.
No, I figured.
Not mine either.
Yeah,
I figured.
It's not, I get what they're doing. I get that they're trying to develop these characters. It's very much a character, driven book. I know you got this little rivalry between Emma and Kate in here, but there's just a lot of things that I don't like them fighting in the apartment and then complaining about security deposits, and then 2 seconds later you're having tea with Emma after you fought with her, and having a freaking headquarters in a ballet studio. Like, there's just so many
all those
weird
things are the reason why I love it.
It's just so I don't know, and I don't know if I can get into these characters. It's just more mutants that we are being introduced in these mutant books. That, do we really need these guys? Like, I don't know. Listen, it's just, I don't know. It's just something that I'm expecting something a little different, and that's just me though.
Yeah, I'm in between. I think I liked it better than you did, Mike. I think, but definitely not as good as you get. I don't know. It just felt. I don't know. I like the characters. I think they're fine. I like the way that they came up with the names. I thought it was cute.
That was
cool. One of them, had the little, came up with all the names, and then Emma comes in with the costumes, and all that stuff, and that all kind of made sense. I like that. I like that they're all different, they're individual, and they each have their own struggles and personal, all that stuff. But the stuff with them and Kate, I don't know, it feels weird that during the Krakoa and stuff, they were kind of like relying on each other, and now they're each other's throats, and it felt, I don't know, it felt too easy the way that their clash ended too, and then Kate's just like, okay, I'm all in. It felt a little, I don't know, just didn't flow well for me, I guess.
There was a line that I really liked that Kitty said in the issue that I think explains their relationship a little better. And look, I get the transition. I think maybe they could add a stronger transition. But I think one of the students asks, I do trust her. And she's like, it's kind of complicated. It's like, oh, you just fought her. And it's just like, it seems like, it was like, yes, I trust her, but I also, like, I trust her, but that doesn't mean like she's a good person. And I thought the way it was worded is better than what I'm saying. I really like it because it's the idea of like, I trust her with all my bones, but that doesn't mean I really want to work with her or she's a good person. I think the things I really like is, and again, you shouldn't maybe build stories off of this, but I think Exceptional X-Men being the 10th title of X-Men, it deserves this. it's a Kitty Pryde love letter. I really do think it's a Kitty Pryde solo book. It's really not a team book. That's why I don't really think of the students even as characters. Like when you think of Uncanny X-Men, those students are the New Mutants. They really, that's a big part of the series. The students are here for Kitty. She's just the whole point is that she was the youngest mutant ever. Now she gets to be a teacher. The reason it's in the ballet studio is because that's where this whole journey started. So I think it's truly this love letter of Kitty Pryde. And if you love Kitty, you are going to tremendously love this book because and again, for me, I love Kitty. I just think there's so many callbacks. I think it is an emotional series. I like that they fought in the apartment because I think it's an interesting commentary about this childhood friend that still kind of sticks around with Kitty, even though she's a mutant, and still brings all this to their house. And she's like, you know what? I still love you. Like I think that's so different for the X-Men that you never get to see is a non-mutant character actually like see her as like a sister and want to still hang out with her.
Yeah.
So, and also the artwork is really good. I think the facial expressions are good. And I'm just excited to see where it goes. I think if you see this as a solo series, you're going to enjoy it more than as a team book. And also Iceman being part of it too. I want to see what layer he brings.
Yeah, and I get that, and I completely understand and appreciate all that. And I love Kitty and Emma, so I'm going to continue reading it. I just, like Mike, I think I wanted something a little bit different, and that's, I've got to settle into this is what this is, and then go from there.
It's kind of like being different's fine. Like that's okay, and I can respect it, right? And it's just I think with some of these titles, you just you're expecting something else and you're getting, I don't know, something that maybe that you
Are you going
want
to continue reading it or is it a drop for you?
I don't know. I think I might drop it just because like, it's just, again, there's so many books. And if there's just not a book that I am personally enjoying, then I just might drop it. And recently, like I missed out on X-Men issue 7. And I just read it today because I wound up getting at the shop last week. And Brant said, you're going to like it. It's the best issue so far. And it actually is the best issue so far. Like I did enjoy it. Like, cause you actually get to see, what happened with Magneto and why he became the way he is. And that there was ramifications to the Resurrection Protocol. So like, that's big stuff right there for me, and, same thing with like Hank, like he said that little girl wasn't a mutant and she clearly is, like, so that stuff right there is pretty interesting to me. So that's what I like. And again, this is kind of more in your wheelhouse and I totally appreciate that. And being that you're a fan of the character, then that's where you're going to appreciate it more too, as well. So,
and that's so interesting because I think I did drop X-Men at this issue, which is like, oh man, but also it's just because it is like the stuff that I don't love the exposition all the time. I don't love like the world building as much. Sometimes I do like a conversation in an apartment always interests me more. That's the fun thing about, honestly, the X-Men. I want to say comics, but I think the thing that the X-Men has been doing really right is that they are giving you all these different types of titles. Like you have the X Factor book, which is emotional, but it's in commentary-ish, but it's also like an action team book. You do have Uncanny X-Men that feels very Chris Claremont. You have the Exceptional X-Men, which is more character-driven. You have X-Men. This is more about like mythos and world building. And honestly, for me, this is the best X-Men's been in such a long time because of that. You do not need to like every series to say the X-Men's in a good spot. Because I don't, I don't think any of us reads X-Force. Like you don't have to read every series.
No, and that's what's good. You get to pick and choose what you like. No. And that where Krakoa, I felt like everything was surrounded around Krakoa, especially towards the end, where in order to understand what was going on, you had to get every single book.
And everything felt like the same book. That's the thing I really hated about the Krakoa ages. If you did not like Krakoa, you could not read the X-Men. It's just like, oh yeah, this is this map and that map. And it's like, but this, like you genuinely could read Exceptional X-Men and not read anything else. And that's okay. And I really like where X-Men's at. And I hope it continues to be this because it's been a long time coming.
All right. Cool. There's that talk. I knew we were going to talk about that one. So let's go and talk about Rocket Fellas issue 1. This is the book that is released from Ghost Machine, written by Peter J. Tomasi, if I'm not mistaken here. I thought this was just a modern, like a modern day Fantastic Four type of story. And I really enjoyed it. There's a lot here that I feel that can happen. And this is just basically your jumping on point, your introduction to a little bit of that world that they came from. And now they're within the first year of the world that they're currently in right now. And they're trying to get adapted to society. Don't actually want to admit that they're stuck in this world, but they find that out at the end. And I think what this book is, what I am hoping for, is that we're going to get some really good character development on who these characters are, how they're going to adapt on Earth, and obviously deal with the situation that's at hand. So I think this has strong potential. I think it might take a little while to develop, but I'm okay with that because Ghost Machine has had some great stories. So I'm definitely going to continue to read it for sure.
I do think that's kind of where it misses the mark for a first issue, especially where there's just so many freaking books out there. I don't really know who the characters are, and I don't really know why I want to continue it. I do like the art a lot. I like the concept enough, but there's 20, like, honestly, tomorrow, like, I have to decide if I'm going to read Hyde Street issue 2 or not, because I really love that one shot of Hyde Street. But I thought Hyde Street 1 was good. It was fine. But I'm just like, there's 20 books. I don't know if I can read it. Like, it's just so many books out right now. And that's Rockefeller's kind of felt the same way. So, I don't know. We'll see if I get issue 2. If it's a slow week, I'll get it. But you have to kind of hook us. And I don't think they did that with the characters here.
Yeah, I tend to agree. At the same time, since we're about to go into it, I'll just go ahead and say Rockefeller is my number 4. So I like it, but it didn't give me that same, like some other Ghost Machine titles where it's like, oh, I'm all in on this.
Sure.
It felt like there was just something missing. I love starting off with the trauma, with the grandma or the older man's wife,
right?
That whole thing, the sacrifice, all that stuff. It set the tone. It's like, okay, this is serious. There are heavy stakes. They're on the run and all this stuff. But once we got to the present, it's like, okay, we can see that the kids have different personalities. One's, kind of off the wall, doesn't care about, rules and everything. The other one's kind of timid. You can kind of get character types, but you didn't get a whole lot of character depth. As long as they continue building on those characters and flesh them out a little bit more, and we start to get to know them a little bit better, I think it'll be a stronger story. But I think this was very much plot driven. Let's establish what's going on here and kind of build from there. So hopefully it gets better and better. But I did enjoy it overall.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what they were going with it. In fact, it was a larger issue, and I almost felt that once they escaped in that time pod, that boom, that was your initial end to the like the first issue, and like with them being at present day Earth, that was like almost like your bonus content. That's almost the way that I looked at it there, because in very many other comic books, you would have ended it right at that point.
Yeah.
So
I could see that.
All right, cool. So Jesus Christ, man. I still get these like acorns that fall from my tree and they hit my garage and they like scare the crap out of me. All right. So now let's move on to number 4. Kat, what was your number 4?
Mine was Ultimate Spider-Man. We already talked about it.
Okay. My number 4 was
mine's going a little. I'm gonna restart my thing because it's going a little slow. So hold on.
Okay. My number 4 was Geiger issue 8. I like this issue a lot too. The art did take a dip because you don't have Gary Frank on the issue, but still the story was really good. We wind up getting to a point where Geiger rescues these kids with Nuclear Knight and Zigzag, and they wind up going to this town that's not affected by the nuclear bomb, right? And we got to see the way of the world there and how things operate. And I just thought it was very interesting. And finally, when they decided to leave, they wind up getting attacked by this king. And obviously now it's going to be because of them probably this town gets destroyed and he's going to wind up blaming himself. This was very much like a Walking Dead issue for me. That's what this reminded me of.
I could see that. Yeah, for sure. And just like in The Walking Dead, when you encounter a place like that, you find that, oh, there's something that's not quite right here. And you find the parents are like burning all the books because they don't want, them to know about society, and they don't want to rebuild it the way it was and all that stuff. So that's interesting, considering that, he had been collecting books and reading and stuff, and they took their books too and all that stuff. So I did think that was interesting. It was a bit quick for me. I don't know. It felt very short, very quick read. So I was hoping a little bit more. I would have liked this to have been a double issue and, gone right into that battle with the king and stuff. But I totally, now that you say it, I totally get the Walking Dead comparison. Right. I didn't think about that at the moment, but yeah.
Yeah. So. Geiger's always a quick read for me because I do enjoy the book a lot. Like it's an interesting story. And again, the character growth of Geiger Tyreek, like he in past issues, he probably would have killed the guy that was burning the books. But totally. He was like, it's ignorance. So he's like, but the way you run your town, that's the way you're going to do it. And he just decided, okay, it's time to go, So it's very, very interesting. All right. So guys, we appreciate you putting down your favorite comics. We have not discussed that portion of the show yet. In case you joined us late, we'll be discussing our favorite series after we get done with our top 5 comics of the week. All right. So now we're moving on to, we talked about The Moon is Following Us. We talked about Batman Year One. We kind of talked about Miles. There's a bug flying around. Miles Morales, Spider-Man issue 26. What did you think about that issue, Brant?
Well, I mean, like we said before, aside from the repetitiveness of him fighting Vulture and all that stuff again, it did feel like at least there was a little bit of conclusion there with the Vulture thing, because Tiana stepped in and was like, I don't want to, you're taking me down the wrong path. I don't want to have anything to do with you. But Miles, I'm still not cool with you. We got to talk through our stuff. So at least there was a little bit of closure there in this issue. So I appreciated that. The art was obviously fantastic, but I am ready for it to move past this particular story.
Yeah. So now we're going to Wakanda, and I'm kind of like,
I know.
And just come on,
because it's just going to be him learning how to use this suit better and master himself and all this stuff, and you can just see the writing on the wall with what kind.
And my thing is too is that right now, like, there's a continuity problem because Black Panther's in that other dimension, in the Avengers title, right? So that was I was thinking about, not trying to think too hard, but that was in the back of my head,
Sure. Yeah.
So. Okay, so let's go on. We'll just dive into number 3 then. So, Kat, what was your number 3?
Mine was It's Jeff Bettamore. I was really, I won't say surprised because I like this series, but I was surprised that it was different from the other. Did I slow down, or can you guys still hear me?
You're
just
good, all right.
You're
fine
good
now.
Okay, cool. It's Jeff. I was surprised because it really was a West Coast Avengers issue. It was more of a continuation of that, which I liked because I liked that West Coast Avengers run. And it was just cute. I really liked it. It was just a fun superhero book. And if you like that series, you're welcome back to those characters. Good art. I thought it was really solid.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. It surprised me because it wasn't just like those no dialogue stories. It was actual, like you said, a West Coast Avengers story. It had, Gwenpool, America, etc. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It wasn't what I expected it to be at all.
I actually did have this in my hands, but then I was just like, there again, we get to the point where there's so many books, and I was just like, I've always enjoyed the Jeff stories, but I was like, I don't need another one. And not saying that this wasn't a good story. I'm sure I would have liked it, but it was just
I'm sure you would have.
I think it was like $7 or something like that. How much was it?
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was 5. It was only 5.
Oh, it was 5? Okay. Yeah. I thought it was more money, but
only 5, but
no, yeah, right. I know. But nevertheless, I was like, yeah, I can. I don't need it. It's hard for me to put books down, but that was just one of the ones that I decided to put down for the week.
Yeah, I think you would have really liked it, but you're gone.
I was basically going to say the same thing, I think. So go ahead.
No, I think you would have liked it because if you really liked West Coast Avengers, so I think that's the element you would have really liked. And also Jeff, like, I think he plays with the Venom really interestingly. Like, I think they played with the mythos of Venom pretty well. But also, like, yeah, it's not like a book you like need to read.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. So.
All right. So let's see. Brant, what was your number 3?
My number 3 was Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider, issue 7. I just like this here. I have fun with this. It's, I don't know. She's dealing with this Black Tarantula character who she doesn't know is the same guy she's crushing on, and that whole thing. So there's this whole kind of thing going on with that. And this was one of the first books I read, so I'm forgetting some of the details in it. So, Kat, if you can help me out a little bit, but that's the main thing I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jessica Jones. They have a little bit of a team up.
Yeah, Jessica Jones.
I wanted more of their team up because she's not really in it that much, and they kind of promised that. And then, yeah, it's like this kind of will they, won't they with Black Tarantula. He's kind of keeping his identity a secret. I like this book. I just, again, wanted more Jessica Jones because that's kind of what was sold to us. And I think the art's really dark for the book, what it is. Like, art does not fit for this series.
Yeah, it was a little bit different art. I like the Jessica Jones bits where like she walked up all those flights of stairs, even though she can fly. But when she wanted to go down, she's like, "You got to get it," and she just walks off the building. It's just little touches like that just I had fun with it. So
this book is ending to do the TVA book.
Is it? I don't remember.
Kat, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can. It's going a little slower, but I could hear you guys. Yeah, you said you had fun with it, I think.
No, and then I asked you, I was like, is this book ending and going to the TVA book?
I actually don't know. I know the TVA book is coming out soon. I know I don't think so. I think it's going to be both of them from what I understand. I think.
I'm trying to find out.
They haven't mentioned that they're ending it.
All right. Cool. While Brant is looking, I will say that my number 3 was The Moon is Following Us, number 3. So we talked about that one as well. Okay, so let's move on. We talked about Geiger. We talked about Spider-Gwen just now. And we're going to move on now to Titans, issue 17. I think this is basically just an introduction to get things rolling here, right? You got kind of like the Clock King, generic type of boring character. Like, does anybody really care about the origin?
I didn't need his origins. Let's just say that.
and it just leads to, oh, look, Deathstroke is kind of behind everything. And it's like I'm excited to see Deathstroke, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, can we get something else besides Deathstroke in the 3rd issue? Right. So it was a little bit like cool, but like how long we're going to see how long I hold on for this one for.
I'm in the next issue. No, because I agree. I'm in the next issue. I like the art. I like Donna, but I'm not, we'll see what happens. Again, it really depends on the week.
Yeah, I really like the art, but as soon as I saw that shadow, I was like, that's Deathstroke, and I'm over it. So I was like, yeah, I'm so sad. I wanted it to go a different place, but I'll probably get the next one too, but it's on the bubble. It looks like Spider-Gwen is continuing at least through February, so
that's what I figured. Yeah, I think they're kind of 2 different books. I don't know who writes the TVA. I don't know if it's Stephanie Phillips or not. It's probably a different writer.
All right. So very cool there. So we're all kind of on the same page with Titans right now. All right. And now we move on to our number 2. Brant, what was your number 2?
My number 2 was The Question. So we already talked about it.
Okay. What about you, Kat?
Mine was Minor Arcania by Jeff Lemire, issue 3.
That's funny. I got that book last week.
Really? Yeah, no, I got this one.
I shop at it, and I wound up getting it last week.
I got it this week. I don't know. I feel like Diamond has some stuff going on right now that I know there's like delayed and stuff. But yeah, no, I like this issue. We learn a lot more about our main character and her relationship with a girl who's married to this like police officer. And I really like the conversation between our main character and the police officer, where you know, it's like not a friendly conversation, but it's also not like, you know, you were with my wife. It's just more of like, yeah, you really kind of like destroyed her and you're not a good person. So like, don't be toxic and maybe learn how to be a better person. And that does make her go to one of the clients that she didn't really treat well and dive into that story. It's for me, it's Jeff Lemire at its best. I think it's a good character driven story. I think the world is, I like how he explores mythology because I think he does a good job at like making the world feel big without info dumping on you. And I think this issue
Yeah.
did a good job with that.
Yeah. It's a good issue. I liked it. I loved how like she goes right, you know, she comes back from that bar and she has that conversation. And I'm just like, oh, this is not gonna be good. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And just like that whole conversation, and then was it the boyfriend or were they married?
I think they're married.
Yeah. But he's just like, you're never gonna like talk to her again. You know, I just thought that was hilarious. But yeah, she kind of has like this epiphany, you know. I like it. I think it's a great book, and his art is so unique. It may not be an acquired taste for everybody, but you definitely know that it is his artwork, you know. And I'm
I
so
like it for his stories. I don't
What's
think I
that?
want him to like. I like it for his stories. I don't think I want him to like draw Spider-Man, but like I like it for
No, I
this
can
type
only
of stuff.
imagine Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it makes sense for his stuff. Absolutely.
Right. And his rural type stories. Like he loves telling like farm stories. So I think this style fits pretty well for that.
Yeah, pretty good stuff. All right, cool. And then we were doing our number 2, right?
2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And my number 2 was Rockefeller's issue 1. So we talked about that. And Brant, we got you?
Yeah, I did it. The question.
It was a question. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're just going to go to, let's see, Milestone's Universe, The Shadow Cabinet, issue 1. I don't even know what this is.
It's
just a new Milestone book that came out.
Yeah,
okay.
It's all a bunch of different characters from the Milestone universe after like Brainiac invaded their universe and attacked them and stuff. So I didn't know much about it going in, and I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. I thought it was decent. It was a decent reintroduction kind of thing, and kind of setting the status quo of where everybody's at, you know, going into it. And I think it's a miniseries, like a 4 or 5 issue miniseries. I enjoyed it enough to continue it for now. It's better than some of the solo Milestone books that I had read. So Static was really the only one I could.
I don't know if you guys read Black Lightning. Did you guys like Black Lightning or no?
I did like Black Lightning.
Actually. I didn't like it.
Really? I really liked it.
I did too.
It was actually my pick of the week for that week.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Because
nice.
I thought it was really connected to the Absolute Power. I thought it was like really for the show. Like I thought there was a little mystery at the end.
I liked how they connected it to Absolute Power. I thought that, you know, they did a good job with that. But the artwork was like, it was almost too much for me. It was like too like flashy and out there, and all the characters kind of looked the same to me. I don't have enough connection to Black Lightning to really show attachment to the book. And personally, I didn't think they did the best job at introducing you to the characters on what they did. They gave you a brief description, but it really kind of dove into like what was going on. And I almost felt like I was reading an X-Men book. Like, hey, let's get the people that have meta powers, you know, that are experiencing it for the first time. So I just felt like I was almost reading like an X-Men book. So this, I don't know, it just didn't hit personally for me.
I will agree that
I don't disagree. Go on, Brent.
I was just gonna say
I don't disagree. My quick one sentence. I think if you watch the show, you would understand it. But if you've never seen the show, I can see why you don't know the characters.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I also agree that art wise, sometimes it was hard to tell which daughter it was, or if it was one of his daughters at all.
Yeah,
that I agree with. But on Kat's point, I like the show and I like the relationship between him and his daughters and stuff. And I felt like this could be pulled right out of the show. So,
and I think that's why you guys had that connection, because you watched that show. And I think if you watch the show, then it's probably very easy to understand who these characters are. And, and whatnot. So for me, as kind of like that newer reader here, getting to know these people, like I didn't think they did the best job at doing that. I think they did a good job at tying it to absolute power, but not really introducing you to the characters.
I didn't even honestly think about that when I was reading it, because I just assumed everyone knew, like, oh yeah, he has these daughters and here they are. And I didn't really think about the aspect of like, these should be new reader friendly. But honestly, like if you look at something like The Question, like that's not a new reader friendly book at all either. Like
it's not, but I do know a little bit more about The Question and Blue Beetle and those characters than that. But like Brant mentions, like I didn't even catch that Watchmen stuff, and he caught that,
Yeah.
So there's things that you're gonna miss, But I felt like, see, that story kind of built up to the place that you were, where you got to when it came to The Question, where this one was just like, here's absolute power, and this is what happened here, and here is my wife here, and I have kids that have powers here, and then okay, now we're in the Watchtower, and let's go out there and let's go find these people that have all these powers. Boo, 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 boo. There's all this stuff that's in your face, and then all of a sudden the fucking girl is falling from the sky. Was she the daughter? Was she not the daughter? He catches her, and then what happens? There's a big crater in the sky. Does he die? Like, there's so much shit.
The transition for the daughter was super confusing. I will say that, because she was like in another state like a few pages before, and then like, oh my god, it's Anissa, and I'm like, where did she come from?
Right.
But I like the mystery of
cat freezes, of course.
Like, oh, that's interesting to me. Did you? I was just saying that I think it's interesting that the ending with Anissa was cool. Like I like the mystery of it, but her being in a different state a few panels before was a little confusing.
That's the thing. I couldn't understand if the implication was that she wasn't actually in New Orleans, that she actually was there all the time, or I don't know. It was a little confusing, but I still enjoyed it.
That's cool. All right, so that was an unexpected little conversation. That's fine.
Little milestone conversation.
Yeah, and we talked about Venom War. It's Jeff issue 1. So let's talk about our number 1. So we know that Exceptional X-Men is Cat's for sure.
It is. It always will be.
Mine was Ultimate Spider-Man issue 11. So we talked about that. And is that Brant's too?
That is mine as well.
And that is his as well. So there we have it, guys. There are our top 5s. So now, finally, after how long have we been on this show for?
An
hour and 22 minutes. We're going to talk about the main topic of the show, which is our favorite series that we have liked so far. Now, I think a lot of us are going to do a lot of us, like there's like so many of us on here.
All of us.
So many
on here, but some way, shape, or form, this is kind of like almost like an abbreviated version of kind of like what we're doing. Like I'm doing an end of the year video on my favorite comics of the week and maybe favorite miniseries. I'm currently putting the entire thing together. I know, Kat, you said you were doing something on Substack.
Yeah. I'm going to do a top 10 video too. And then I'm going to do a written version of it on Substack in like beginning of December. So you'll get like the top 10, you'll get more detail of it. But we thought it'd be fun for us to compare and contrast our list and see, what our favorite books are and what has changed too from last year.
Yep. So pretty cool stuff. All right. So Brant, why don't you kick things off? Because, you got to do the anticipated thing too. So why don't you kick things off here for this?
All right. Since we lost Kat.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Are we going in order? How are we doing? We just going to throw out a book?
Just throw out a book. Say a book that is, just say your 5 books or whatever it is.
Okay.
Let's see where
I'll throw out one that's kind of by the just barely made it, because I think like the last 2 issues came out this year, but the rest of it came out last year, which was Kill Your Darlings. Didn't like the last couple issues come out this year? I think so. Anyway, so that was like one of my favorite miniseries of the year, probably of the past few years. It was just a fantastic, story about this girl whose, imaginary world came to life and kind of, caused, her mother's death and all this weird, wacky fantasy stuff that I ate up, completely. Loved the art. The storytelling was brilliant. So yeah, it was one of the best books of the year for me.
Okay. I totally think I forgot like the end of this series. Like, I think I did. Like, I think I fell off of it, and then I never knew when it came out again.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah,
did
no,
have
I
a little
remember
bit of
you
delay,
didn't
yeah.
read the ending.
Yeah.
No, it did have a delay. But the ending was that she ended up with the guy, and I don't remember the rest.
Everything
I
was
do.
like
Yeah, I don't
hunky
either.
dory again. Like, she wound up going back to the real world.
Yeah, she went back to the
Yeah.
real world, and I think it was just about her dealing with her trauma, if I remember correctly. And she
Yeah, I
had to
think
defeat
so.
the bad guy, you know?
It was a little bit open-ended, but it was a very,
Mm.
conclusive story as well, so.
All right. Well, let's do another one, Brant. What's the second one for you?
Rook Exodus. That's
Rook Exodus.
yeah,
Okay.
that's one of the best books on the stands
I
for me.
mean, obviously, Cat's not in that camp.
Yeah.
Like, I can
No.
totally agree with you there that Rook Exodus is one of mine as well, as I would say top 5.
Yeah.
Where it eventually falls in everything, we'll have
Right.
to yet see. But I can say that, you know, Jeff Johns, when he's come out with a series that has to do with this guy that is a farmer, and you know they live on this world. What was your first impression of this guy? He's like a freaking Star-Lord wannabe, right? And it's
Visually,
just,
yeah.
Visually, and you're kind of like, you know, and then you read that first issue and you're like, okay, and then it just constantly gets better, and you just love all the different types of characters in there. It's a good world builder. It's a good character developer. It's, you know, great cliffhangers, phenomenal action, top tier artwork. Like,
Yeah. Oh, the art is hands down some of the best. Yeah.
It's awesome. And this is a book where freaking Todd McFarlane could sit there and say, hey guys, can I make action figures for you? Can I make statues for you? Like, this is something that I think collectors would love. I think maybe kids could like the toys. It's like a modern day mask. Like,
exactly.
You could do that, man. So really cool stuff.
When I first heard of the concept, that's what it put me in mind of was Mask. I was like, oh, this is like an elevated version of Mask. This is not for kids toy commercial. This is a pretty cool concept, and put on this weird world with these giant animals and this gorgeous art, and it just it all came together really beautifully for at least us two. Unfortunately, not for Kat, but
not for me.
I really
not my thing, but
absolutely one of my favorite books ever. Honestly, there's something about it that just hits all the notes for me.
Absolutely. All right, give us a third one here.
All right,
Superman.
Yeah.
Oh, go on. Oh, you're doing. No, sorry, you're gonna.
That's fine. You can jump in because that's on my list too.
Good.
I was kind of going back and forth between Farrell and Superman, but I think Superman wins out. So yeah.
Farrell's great too. Mm-hmm. Superman, I think, is just a really consistent book that keeps getting better, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's just like it's a book, even I think now with All Out, like I don't know. I think it's a really cool series. So the art's always been really good. I love a good consistent superhero book. They're not out there very often. So when you get a book that like is reliable and every issue is good, that's a superhero book that things happen every issue. That's wild.
Yeah. When you look at where it was, right, and then you look at where it is now, and it is way enjoyable. It's just it's a beautiful book to look at. Really interested in what's going on in the story right now. We get an issue tomorrow, I think it is, with
I think so.
The whole Doomsday situation. So excited to see that. But yeah, Superman is pretty much up there. I don't know if it might be in my top 5 overall at the end of the year, but it is a good book for sure.
I think another reason that it stands out is because, like you said, where it was before, but it's like for us, where we're predominantly Marvel people and not predominantly Superman fans. Yeah. And so when you get a Superman book that is consistently good, fantastic art and writing and character work and all that stuff for a long period of time, it just, you sit up and pay attention to it. And that's what this run has been, for all of us. And so it earned its place on my my list, at least so far. So we'll see.
Right. What about another one? You got 2 more.
All right. Transformers. That's a no-brainer, right? Transformers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even when it, kind of veered away from the character work that, made it such a strong start for those first 5 or 6 issues, it's still, I think it's still a solid, fantastic book with plenty of nostalgia for longtime fans. But it's still kind of building on that stuff. I really do hope it gets back to some of that character stuff with the humans and all of that as well. But I've still enjoyed the way that they've slowly sprinkled in other characters, and we've gotten like this Starscream origin kind of thing, put in the last couple of issues, and we'll keep building with that. And I don't know, it's just it's a well balanced book that has a lot of potential still to be even better in the future. So
I agree. I mean, even this current issue, like, Starscream gets back on his feet and well, maybe on his
not on his feet, but
yeah, right. And but you get to see kind of like that sniveling like weasel that he is, but
yeah,
you feel like there's a possible civil war that's going to go on within the Decepticons. So very interesting, great. Again, a way to, like, you would never think that Daniel Warren Johnson would give these Transformers this much emotion.
Yeah.
And you could say that this book has more emotion, that much more emotion than any of those Michael Bay movies. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And that's what was really lacking in those movies. You focus on that action, but you're trying to rely on the emotion in the human characters in that movie. But it's the robots that you were there to see. You know what I'm saying?
No,
and
totally agree.
and I'm curious to see what they will also do with the human characters in this series. But overall, it's been a great series. So what's one more book?
Ultimate Spider-Man. It's just, this has been like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it, because when they announced they were going to redo the Ultimate Universe, it's like, sure, they've tried this before. It's like, it's not going to be, the same or whatever. But it's not. But this book, and we talked about it earlier with issue 11, it's just been such a surprisingly good story about this adult Peter Parker and his whole family. But it's focused on a Peter Parker that got his powers later in life and has Uncle Ben in his life. And it's just like a completely different vibe, but it's the same character. It's the same traits. It's, the same core concept, but built up in a completely different way. And it's telling such a beautiful character story between all his supporting cast. It's just, I don't know. It's absolutely one of the best Spider-Man books I've ever read. Just like this Transformers is the, hands down best Transformers book I've ever read. So
I think with Ultimate Spider-Man, I think at the end of the day, it shows you that you don't always need, and maybe some people might disagree, but you don't always need Spider-Man fighting somebody to make it a good book, right? So you develop the characters, and then when something happens in the book, it's going to emotionally impact you as the reader that much more.
I also like it's a book that you should take your time with. Like, I think a lot of times when you think Spider-Man, you do think kind of blockbuster. You think like it's gonna be a quick read, but honestly, this is not a quick read. And obviously, I think it's because we enjoy it. So it's just like, okay, like we're gonna take our time with it. But I like that it kind of like feels like a TV episode more than like, oh, there's that quick comic I read for 5 minutes. Like, I genuinely take my time to read that book.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of books like that, because sure, a lot of kids got into comics because it was big, colorful, loud costumes, lots of action and punching, all that kind of stuff. But at the reason that these have longevity like this is because the characters are interesting, their stories are interesting. You have to have the strong character building and stories and world building and all that stuff to make you a fan long term. So, and I think this book gives you all of that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kat. Well, your turn here. So, and then you tend to sometimes like different books than we do. So what do you got for us?
I'll try not doing some of the repeats. I will say some of the repeats being like Ultimate Spider-Man, Superman. Those are honestly the 2 repeats. So I'll throw out there is Zatanna Bring Down the House. we talked about it already, but I felt like that felt like an indie book to me. If you don't know anything about Zatanna, I think you'll learn a lot about her.
Good book.
Yeah,
and it's a good overall story about her father, and it kind of opens up like, oh, maybe there'll be more in the future. I love the colors for this book, so if you never read anything for Zatanna, I think it's a very easy book to read.
This funny story, like when I had my garage sale a couple of weeks ago, I had a couple come that are a fan of the channel, a husband and wife.
Oh, that's nice.
Their name is Justin. Shout out to Justin and Alex. And the first thing that Alex asked is, she was like, "Do you have any Zatanna?" And I'm like, "I don't have any Zatanna. I only have the newest series that came out." And she's like, "Bringing Down the House?" And she was like, I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, I absolutely love that series." And
nice.
It was so funny how much that she liked it. And then they liked like Something is Killing the Children. They never read the first trade, so I gave them the first trade for free. So it was a lot of fun. And it was funny, the things that they liked. Like they read Plastic. Nobody reads Plastic, but they read Plastic and they loved it. So I thought it was so much fun. But yeah, being that they liked, Bringing Down the House was actually like really, really cool. So
yeah, because I don't think enough people read it.
Yeah. Yep. So what's another one?
Another one, Power Rangers Return. I'm surprised you guys. I feel like you might have forgot. Oh, you almost made it.
It's one of the ones I was thinking, like between Pharaoh and Superman. I was trying to figure out my fifth one, and that was definitely a contender. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like because it came out earlier in the year, it's easier to forget. But that book was so powerful to me. I really, really enjoyed. It's hard to write a miniseries that every issue is perfect, and that really every issue was perfect. It was paced really well. There's a lot of good twists and turns with Kimberly's daughter. I always said this, I thought it was very interesting that you could kind of tell it was Amy Jo Johnson dealing with her own grief of losing these real people and putting that within the story. I genuinely don't think you have to be a Power Rangers fan, because I know Mike read it. I know so many people I've recommended it to who've never read the Power Rangers ever, and they're like, wow, that was a really good story. I'm like, this is a lot like all the other Power Rangers books. Like Power Rangers comics are not the Power Rangers television show. So like it is honestly the best team book out there. So I thought it was a perfect series.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was really good. It was just so emotional, like you said, so heavy, and you said it perfectly. She was dealing with her own personal trauma in writing that.
I liked it. Absolutely. It was much different than like, that's why I picked it up though. Like for her, and being that it was a story that took place in the future, it was like it definitely caught my eye. So very cool. All right, what's the third book, Kat?
I'll reference that obviously Exceptional X-Men's in the list, but we talked about Exceptional X-Men, so I'm gonna do something else. Uncanny Valley was a really, really good book. That it's a metatextual book about this kid who finds out his family are cartoon characters, and it was supposed to be a mini series, I believe, and then it became an ongoing series. So they're obviously extending the mythos a little bit more, but every issue I think did a great job of kind of celebrating cartoons and comics while expanding who these characters are. So, and it's Tony Fleecs. Tony Fleecs did honestly a lot of books this year. So
yep, absolutely. All right, so I guess I'll go into mine. I got some books here that I was gonna talk about. So one here is we briefly mentioned it, but Feral, I'm going to say that is one of my favorite, books. It's obviously a book about cats who are dealing with a rabies outbreak, which would be in very many cases like a zombie apocalypse, right? And they're running and going and hiding, and it's action packed, and you get to see point of view issues, and based off of the latest issue here, these cats wind up going to like a cat herder, a order of cats, and they find their friend, and you're like, oh shit, where are we going now? Right. While their other friend is like out there suffering from rabies. And you don't know what's going to go on with that, but the artwork is always really great. You're always in, lots of suspense when you're reading it. So just a really phenomenal book here.
I think the creative team knows horror really well for that. And I didn't read Stray Dogs, but it sounds like Stray Dogs was more of like a murder mystery from what I remember.
It was a mini series.
Was it, or was it a horror book?
It was like a serial killer kind of thing. Yeah. So it was that kind of thing, but it was more mystery.
more of a mystery book, and I think that's so interesting because this book is so horror driven. Is like you see an episode that issue that feels like a zombie issue. It's just like they do a really good job with that genre, and I love the horror genre, so I don't like cats that much, but I know I know people who have cats, so it's just like I know what they do, and it's like, oh, you can kind of pick up on like, yeah, cats do that thing,
right?
So yeah, I think it's a cool book.
I would love to be in the I would love to be in the room when they pitch that. It's like Walking Dead, but with cats.
Yeah, right. It's like, ooh, that could be. Another book I'm going to throw out there is going to be The Sacrificers, from Rick Remender.
Or is it still going?
It's still going. Yeah, there was an issue last week or something like that. So
last week or the week before, yeah.
That's still a solid book in my eyes. About this poor bird that gets sacrificed, this poor bird guy or whatever it is.
Pigeon.
He gets sacrificed to the gods to get his blood, transfused to the gods to drink and give them their youth. And things kind of go south for the gods, and Pigeon winds up getting superpowers and getting revenge. And I read the most recent issue, and oh my gosh, like, you want to talk about like pulling at your heartstrings at the end of the most recent issue. It's just so gut wrenching. This kid can't catch a break, dude.
Yeah,
it's tough, man. So really, really good stuff there. Another book I'll throw out there is The Ultimates. I think this book is getting better. We finally got shit hit the ceiling in the last issue, based off of like our team has finally come together. You get introduced to this version of a Hulk. He like basically kills Iron Lad, and there's just lots of things going on in there, and I can't wait to see like how this continues to develop to where the maker makes his return. So I think the storytelling is pretty good in that one as well.
It's definitely the strongest issue.
Yeah, that was the strongest issue for sure. I'll throw out a miniseries, Grommets. I think that was a fun series. Whether you're a fan of skateboarding or not, I think that if you do like coming of age books, I think this is that type of story. It's getting ready to wrap up soon. We're heading into the penultimate issue here. But overall, it's just a bunch of skater kids taking in the 80s, skating, skipping school, hanging out with girls, trying to hook up. And it's just a fun time, man. It's just a really, really good book. I've really enjoyed it overall. So, and I think we
don't get enough slice of life stories, and that's something.
No, I like them. Yeah. If they're done right, they're really a lot of fun, and then, I'll throw out one more here, and I'm going to say one more from Ghost Machine is going to be Redcoat. I think that book was a solid book as well, as you learn about this character by the name of Simon Pure, who gets these powers, infinite life powers. He teams up with Einstein. They go on adventures together. He has to fight death, and he's managed to beat it at the end of the story arc. And unfortunately, he's one of these guys that lives forever, and the people that he's closest to, he winds up losing. So again, it's another emotional book by the time you wind up getting to it, and it will be interesting to see how the story continues going into the second story arc. So yeah, overall, those are just some of the other books that I've really enjoyed this year. I have more on this list, but that will be for another time.
Yeah. I saw somebody in the comments say Space Ghost. That's been a really solid series as well.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one too.
Absolutely. So. Space Ghost is really, really good. And infamous Mike Manhattan says Grommets is basically Rick Remender's autobiography.
Yeah. And Brian Posehn's. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool stuff, man. Lots of great stuff. Black Spider says Wolverine versus Predator was a lot of fun. That was way early in the year, man. That was a while ago. Yeah, I remember reading that too as well. So yeah. But yeah, that's it. That gives you a little bit of an insight of some of our favorite books of the year. And like I said, tune into mine and Kat's I don't know if Brand, are you going to think about doing one on your channel?
I'll think about doing one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have inspired me. Maybe I will.
Yeah. There we go. See, so you can check them out on our
They're
channel.
fun.
Yeah.
So let's dive in now to the final segment of the show of the books that we are most anticipating coming out for tomorrow or today at this point. And man, for a holiday week, we already talked about it. It is full of comic books. Like I said, 26 or 27 books on my pull list this coming week.
Yeah, and some of the books that we were just talking about are on
I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
So yeah, and like a lot of duplicates between us too. I'll go real quick with Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns. That miniseries last year really surprised me, and it was so much fun. The Batman Santa Claus crossover thing. That was.
Can they duplicate that? What can they do to top it? Right.
Exactly. I can't imagine it being, having the same, effect on me because I've, seen it now. But I'm hoping it's just as fun. So we'll see going forward. We talked about Feral and Grommets. Those are both on your list, Mike. Since Cat cut out, you can talk about those real quick.
Yeah. So Feral, obviously, we talked about the end of that last issue as we got the cat hoarder who's hoarding all the cats. But I think he's really doing it to protect them, to make sure they don't get sick, right?
Right.
But obviously something's going to happen, man. Something bad's going to happen here, and then Grommets issue 6, we get the continuation of the high school bullies that are trashing their party.
Issue.
Yeah. And so curious to see the direction of towards the end of this series here. But yeah, just a fun book, like I already said.
Yeah. So we'll jump to Black Canary Best of the Best, Cat, which is your number 2. This wasn't even on my radar. I don't know how I missed this.
It's Tom King. It is Tom King. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
But I mean, when's the last time Black Canary's had a solo series on her own?
Yeah.
So I'm into that. So that's why it's on my list. Honestly, I almost missed it too, because I was doing my list for next month. Be like, oh, what books am I getting? I said issue 2. When the hell does issue 1 come out? And then I think something happened with like delays and stuff, because I had seen issue 1 somehow missed my radar, but I only found out because I saw issue 2.
Yeah, because I mean, I do Friday First, and I just did not even see this. It's totally
high up there on the list when you're looking through books.
Right,
it's kind of like a little bit down there, so I think it's easier to miss. I mean, this I put this on my pull list, but I'm like, again, I'm hesitant because it's Tom King.
That makes sense.
Like, it's like for me with all his over talking and narration and shit like that, and you got a week with 26 books, it's like, oh, do I want to hear you ramble on all day? So we'll see what happens.
And then Kat and I both have this Ghost Machine title. Hornsby and Halo issue 1 is finally here, so looking forward to that. It's a kid of an angel and a kid of a devil switch families and are raised in the opposite family to prevent
like
a war.
Foreign exchange student thing,
Yeah, or switched at birth, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of concepts they're mixing,
I put this one as like my I did my top 10 most pulled comics of the week that I usually do. And this book was like in my sleeper list. So yeah, it was that. The cat is really having internet problems today.
It's like she's still in Japan or
yeah, right.
Jimenez from
not really
teleconference.
Yeah, right.
So I wanted to get her thoughts on this because I know she was looking forward to this book as well. But we must move on. Well,
I think she's trying to come back.
We'll give her okay. There's 2 cats.
There's a black screen of Cat.
Yeah.
I think she's still not right.
No, I think she's still frozen. Are you there?
All right, I think I'm there now. I don't know what's going on with my internet. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We can.
All right. I think we're okay.
Right.
I don't know what's going on. I think it's Google Chrome. So you guys, I think you were talking about Hornsby, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Halo, yes.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I like this one from the big one shot. This is the one I was really excited for. I don't want to talk too much about it because I already read it because I thought I was gonna have I still have a very busy day tomorrow. So I read some of the image books already. So like when you guys talk about Pharaoh, I was like, oh, I already read that. So I don't want to get I don't want to get too much. But yeah, I am and still excited about that book, and you'll find out my thoughts tomorrow.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so all our number one is the same, which is Justice League Unlimited issue 1. Long time coming, this book. Yeah. So absolutely. I mean, all the things. It's just the cartoon come to comics, so I'm excited for that. Absolutely.
Mark Waid and Dan Mora too.
I mean this dream team. No pun intended. Like this has unlimited potential. Like you can have everybody or anybody at any time in this comic book doing some kind of adventure, and I think that's what's going to make this comic, I hope, that much fun. Like it's like you got all of the toys in the toy box to play with in this series.
Yeah, it's like a George Perez cover, just expanded into a story. It's beautiful, you know. So but that's it. That's all our most anticipated, short and sweet this week.
Awesome, that's it. And we gave you a nice little show this week. You got like a bonus segment based off of our favorite comics of the year. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Love bringing this show. I mean, it's great. It's sad when we're gone for a couple of weeks. We feel bad, but sometimes they're just can't help it, man. Exactly. It kind of sucks, So, like Brant said, we're lucky to have Kat because he feels like you're still in Japan trying to tune into us here.
I know. I don't know what's going on with my internet. I think it's Google Chrome. If this happens again next week, which it shouldn't. Usually it's not too bad. I'm gonna try a different browser.
It's like you caught my cold or something. Like you caught my internet problem.
Cold.
I know. Because usually that doesn't happen. But StreamYard's weird in that way where it's like they pick and choose who's gonna have the bad internet for the week.
Right. Yeah. It was funny when Mike's internet went out last week. Is like that same night after we were talking about it, the three of us, my internet went out twice within like the next couple of hours. I'm like, what is going on? I'm not in the same state. What's happening here?
So crazy. But yeah, guys. So that's it for us tonight. So thank you so much for watching the show. I think at one point we almost had like 70 viewers watching. So
nice.
So you guys missed us. So we much appreciate it. So
we missed you.
Yeah. And if you like us, right, make sure you subscribe to all our channels at Only Good Comics, Comic Book Corner 2.0, at Comic Uno. Make sure you give this video on the way out a thumbs up. It definitely helps it. And if you don't want to miss a show, hit the bell so you get the notification when this show is coming on. Usually we would like to say it comes on every Tuesday, but it doesn't. So we're just being honest with you, right? So that's why the bell is super important. So when it does come, we do our best to promote it when it's on, right? But you never know. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a new comic book day. Also, have a great Thanksgiving as well. And enjoy that turkey. So guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Hopefully.